Hi, and welcome to Try the Flip Side, the podcast. I'm Vanessa Vasurka, and this podcast has been a long time coming. Try the Flip Side for me started back in 2014, at a point in my life where I realised I couldn't keep living the way I was. Something had to change. I felt stuck, unhappy, and I knew I needed to do something different. So I did exactly that. I flipped things. It was triathlon that became the vehicle for that change, and that's where the name comes from. Through training, through showing up, through pushing myself in ways I never had before, I started to discover parts of myself I didn't even know existed. Discipline, endurance, resilience. And more than that, the belief that I was actually capable of something more. Because on the other side of what felt like a pretty ordinary, unhappy life was something completely different. Now, to someone else, it might not look extraordinary, but to me it is. This is the life I've built. This is how I choose to live. And this is what I believe in. This podcast is really just an extension of that. It's a space where I'll share what I've learnt along the way, through training, through setbacks, through starting again more times than I can count. I won't always have the answers. Sometimes it'll just be me working through ideas out loud. But if something I say helps you shift your thinking, or take a step towards something you've been putting off, or just makes you feel a little less alone on your own journey, then it's worth it. So take what you need from this. Maybe it's motivation, maybe it's discipline, maybe it's just a different way of looking at things. But whatever it is, I'm really glad you're here. It's a privilege to have your attention, and I don't take that lightly. So thank you for listening. And if nothing else, I hope this gives you a bit of insight into where I've been and maybe inspires you to explore what's possible on your own flip side. Let's get into it. Welcome to the first episode, The Power of Discomfort. I'm Vanessa, and today we're diving into a topic that challenges our natural instincts. As humans, we're wired to seek comfort. But what if comfort is actually holding us back? What if the key to becoming our best self is through discomfort? Everything in our brain is designed to keep us comfortable, but that might be the exact reason that we're not progressing. When we talk about growth can be physically uncomfortable, like growing pains or any physical change to your body, such as muscle building or even weight gain or loss. There's a certain physical discomfort associated with it. When you break down your muscles through strength training and experience soreness afterwards, that's your body adapting. And that rebuild leads to muscle growth, where your body experiences physical discomfort in order to get stronger. Does mental growth require it too? And if this is true physically, what happens when we apply it to our mindset? That's where endurance sports comes in for me. The notion of discomfort and Ironman go hand in hand. Ironman New Zealand in 2024 was a real test of discomfort, more so than any other endurance event I'd participated in thus far. I felt I wasn't as physically prepared as previous events, and this showed up quickly as I finished the 180k bike ride. It was an immediate physical struggle. I felt like I couldn't stand straight, and I felt like my hips were stuck at a 90-degree angle for the first 3Ks of the run. All of a sudden, this doubt washed over me, and I thought, wow, am I even going to be able to finish this? I felt like my quads were destroyed from riding into the headwind on the bike, and my ability to get any power from my legs was gone. I was thinking, how am I going to get through this? When talking about physical discomfort, sometimes the line between pain versus discomfort can be very blurry, and you have to make that decision at the time whether you push on or you stop. Not all pain means stop, but not all pain should be ignored. In my head, I started assessing whether the pain was an injury or if it was just muscle fatigue and discomfort, and I concluded that it was discomfort, so I continued to push as best I could. I had to find ways to be able to cope with the discomfort. I decided to break down the run in my head. Part of the problem is sometimes the mental burden of the task ahead. And so when my mind shifted from I have to finish a marathon to just get through 1K and reassess, I was able to mentally lock in and continue to run as best I could. At the pace I was going, I knew it was going to be a long night. So that strategy worked for a while, but at around the 21K mark, the discomfort started to overwhelm me again. My mind was all over the place, and getting to 1 kilometre felt so long. I passed my partner on the course and she said, "You know you can quit, and it can all be over, and you don't have to keep going. I knew that she knew that I wouldn't do that, but that comment changed my perspective. So as I reached a section on the course, which was near the water's edge where it was dark and had very few spectators, I decided to turn off my headlamp because I just needed to go within and find something inside myself away from any distractions. The first thing I needed to do was surrender to the situation and how I was feeling and stop wasting energy on what I couldn't control, accept it, and focus my attention on a way to get through this despite my physical limitations. As I went deeper into this stretch of the course, the only noise around was the breathing and footsteps of other runners passing me. It was dark, and I was going within myself and asking, how am I going to get through this? Why am I doing this? Am I injured or just uncomfortable? Should I quit? This then turned into a negotiation with myself, and I started to say, listen, this discomfort is temporary. You just have to work through it. You'll be in your hotel room soon, you'll be warm, and you'll be able to take a warm shower, and this whole thing will stop. Then I had to ask myself, who do I want to be after this? How will I feel if I quit now? And in that dark space, I found my identity again. The version of me that doesn't quit. The person that does hard things and gets stronger doing it. The person who breaks themselves down, pushes to the limit, and then comes back stronger. After that, the decision was clear, and the how became the focus. I needed to give my mind a task to distract from this discomfort and finish the event. So I went back to the first tactic. The rest of the run needed to be broken down into smaller milestones, tiny goals, so I decided to count my steps. I started counting 1 to 10, which became this rhythmic mantra meditative state that was distracting me from my situation and where I was. What it was also doing was bringing me into the present moment. What am I faced with right now? A series of steps. How many? Just 10. So when I was counting 1 to 10, I was only focused on that one task, but I was still moving forward, which was the main goal. And as I came out of that dark section and looped back around to where my partner was, she told me that I looked different and that my whole demeanour had changed. I was resolved to finishing the event, and that's exactly what I did that night. I finished the Ironman. It wasn't until I was at the finish line that I understood the power of what I'd done, the power of overcoming when I didn't believe that I could, or not knowing if I could. I was very proud that I was able to do that. It was then I realised how much of an accomplishment this was, and rather than focusing on the disappointment that the day didn't go as I expected, I had reframed it in my head and understood the lesson it taught me. With practice, training yourself to push through discomfort becomes easier, and you start to stretch past the perceived limits in your life. In my scenario, that discomfort wasn't just mental, it was physical as well. I since discovered that I do have a back condition, and whilst the discomfort was manageable, there does need to be a distinction between discomfort and injury. You need to listen to your body, but you don't need to let discomfort trick you into quitting early, because this is when it counts. Pushing through discomfort is where growth happens. You don't need to react to your first instinct to stop, because your brain's first response is to protect you, not grow you. Expanding these limits often helps you build confidence and self-trust. Being able to push through discomfort is built through training and repetition. The more you push through small discomfort, the more practice you get at it. Eventually, that discomfort shifts the boundaries of your perceived limits. These small breakthroughs are important because they're the building blocks that refine your ability to navigate through a challenge and overcome your discomfort when you need to. There are 3 mental tools I want to share with you that have helped me when I've needed to push through discomfort. The first one is the negotiation. This is the hard talk with yourself. What happens if I stop versus if I continue? Will I be okay with that? Does this align with who I am? Or who do I want to be? This internal discussion helps you make an identity-based decision of why you're pursuing your goal. If it's important to you, this talk will bring back your why and reaffirm your conviction. The second one is the 30-second rule. What that is delaying the instinct to stop. Wait 30 seconds, reassess, and see if you still need to stop. You'll be surprised how much further you can go. The third one is the micro goal. Be present and ask yourself only to accomplish what is required in this moment. Focus on what is manageable, not what is overwhelming. break up a big task into tiny little moments. When you start to observe your life, you'll find that your perceived limits are everywhere, in everything you do. But as you start to push through in different areas, you begin to open your mind to the possibility of expanding your perceived limits. And by doing this often, practicing it, even in little things, your self-belief rebuilds, giving you courage and freedom to tackle huge challenges. The more you practice doing this, the more you'll be able to achieve for yourself and push past things you thought were impossible. So whatever your goals are, this week, if you want to practice pushing through discomfort, find the discomfort and delay the point where you want to stop, even by 30 seconds, and see what happens. See if you can surprise yourself, if you can push past and stretch your perceived limit. Even if it's something as simple as going for a walk even though it's cold or raining. Your initial reaction is not to go, but what if you do go? What if you push past that? So let me know in the comments if this has helped you, or if you're able to push through something you haven't been able to before. Or if there are any other tools you use to push through discomfort and how you manage that process. I'd love to hear it because I could use more tools in my arsenal. That's it for my first episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you come again and listen, because I've got some more insights and some more fun things to explore so that you can push your limits and try the flip side. Thanks everyone. Be well and be safe, flippers. See you out there.